All right, so let's begin. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me for this webinar. My name is Irina, and I'm a psychotherapist working with Illuminations past almost 9 years now. So today's webinar, we have a topic of healing your relationships with hypnosis, hypnotherapy. I mean, big part of my work, what I do at Illuminations is hypnotherapy. And lots of cases that I deal with is relationships, and specifically lately after COVID, right? So let's understand first what do we mean by relationship, and then we will talk about what hypnotherapy is, and then we will see how it fits into the healing of relationships. Now, when I say relationships, of course, I do mean all kinds of relationships. It's not only romantic aspect of our life, but we share relationships with our loved ones, with friends, with family members, siblings, our colleagues, etc. Right? And I can actually be more, brave here and generalize and say that all of us have experienced something challenging in our relationship, right? So even if you are on a constant high and honeymoon, there will be some person in your life, right from your childhood till today, that you did have a challenge in a relationship. So let's understand what it is, what's the main challenge in our relationship, because it defines, no matter how much we say that, we need to be happy from inside, happiness comes, joy comes from within. Yes, I do agree, joy comes from within, but many times you find yourself that your joy, your happiness, and everything that you are enjoying in your life depends on what kind of relationships you have built in your life around you, okay? So what is the main ingredient of relationship? Of course, main ingredient is a communication, because without communication, we cannot have a relationship. In fact, entire our being is doing communication all the time, and not only with other humans, but with everything and everyone around us, including animals and non-living things as well, right? We constantly communicate, right? So, for example, how you drive your car, you are communicating to your car how you feel, right? If you are not talking to someone, you are communicating that I don't want to see you. When you are talking, what you are saying verbally and what you are doing with your physical body, with your gestures, as I'm talking to you right now. So there are a lot of gestures. There's an entire physiology, my breathing, smiling or not smiling. So all of this is also a communication. So communication is not only verbal. In fact, we say it's 7%, and rest 93% is your body language and your gestures. But that's not all. See, when you are communicating to someone, it's your processor over here or over here, however you want to experience it, that you are letting another person know something. So you have intention always of communication, whether it's a love and compassion or empathy, or it's an anger, sadness, or jealousy, frustration, whatever is the intention is always there, that I want to communicate this to another person. However, sometimes what we miss is that there is another processor completely different from yours, totally operating on different paradigm and different language, that has to receive your communication. So it's not only what you want to say, but it's how the other processor is going to translate and receive this, right? So there is a receiver mindset as well over there. And that's exactly what becomes a challenge in our communicating styles, right? Now, there is a time as well. So the amount of input or the trigger that we have is coming not only how we feel, but what is the situation around us. So there are layers and layers in communication. because we communicate all the time, it's like our being. Even when we die, we say, okay, so we are gone, we are dead, right? Dead body also communicates, right? So because it's your part of your being, the communication, what happens is it becomes unconscious. You see, like when we learn something new, let's say we learn new language, or we learn, let's say, driving or swimming or any new skill, the newer you are to the skill, more conscious you do it. So if you learn Spanish now, the amount of time and the thought and conscious mind you're going to apply on how to create the sentence and how to communicate is much more than when you are talking to your mother tongue language. Why does that happen? Because in one, you are talking consciously. On another, there is a lot of unconscious part that is in act of doing that skill, right? So first few months that you are a driver, you drive differently versus later. So if you want to teach driving to somebody else, actually it is much easier while you are studying to drive, while you remember what your instructor is telling you. Even though you are not a great driver, you could be better teacher to somebody else. You see? So what we do is when we communicate with our loved ones around us, and of course, I mean, most emphasis today that I want to talk is our romantic partners. More we are in communication with them for a longer time period, more this communication becomes unconscious. Therefore, if you just met somebody else, okay, let's forget about honeymoon. Yeah, I don't want to even go there right now. But let's say you just met somebody for the first time. It's nowhere near romantic. You are so careful, right? What you say, how you behave, versus with your friends, right? So with your friends, you might be more raw. And what do we mean by raw? You let go of your communication and you begin to communicate unconsciously. Now, whenever we have the painful situations in our relationship, one part is this, communication that lacks awareness. Okay? Now, this is exactly where hypnosis comes into, and how fast one can heal painful, traumatic relationships with hypnotherapy is incredible. Okay? Simply because we bring those traumatic, deeper patterns, traumatic communication styles and the triggers that create so much pain, so much disappointment, so much frustration within us, we bring it up into your conscious level. And you realize what are you actually communicating and how are you translating what is coming your way. Now, of course, relationship can only heal. I mean, we say that hypnotherapy can heal relationship. However, relationship in the manner that we understand that there are two people involved in the relationship, and healing means that they are in harmonious terms with each other, can only happen when both the parties willing to do that, right? It's not only one person that can heal it. One person heal themselves. That's for sure. If one person is angry, jealous, frustrated, sad because of the relationship, and the other party doesn't want to participate, this person can heal themselves. That's for sure. But the moment we talk about relationship, we talk about two people, and both of them need to work on this, and both of them need to work on their communication, right? So meanwhile, I just forgot to tell you guys that if there is any question that comes up, I would like you to just message here on the chat box, and I'm going to read, and probably I'll stop in between and I'll answer whatever is coming in your mind. Please do share, because I would like it to be more interactive. Yeah. So now let's understand, where did we learn to communicate? Yeah, if I'm saying that we are actually walking communications. Where did we learn this? Because when we were born, we didn't know how to communicate. We only knew to communicate for our survival, right? We would cry, and probably later we learn how to smile and express our kind of gratitude towards the universe, towards the people that used to take care of us and used to share their love with us. So communication is, of course, taught from our childhood, yeah? And we not only learned how we were communicated, but we learned how people around us communicated to each other. In fact, the first point of reference of relationship is between our parents, right? So many times what we learn in our childhood, we are playing it out in our relationships, and that's also very unconscious. You know, consciously we keep saying, I never want to marry men like my father, for example, okay? Or I never want to have a relationship like my parents. And then later we realize that we create exactly same pattern, and we are exactly in the same situation. Okay, why does it happen? Again, because yes, consciously we judged their relationship because it wasn't healthy, it wasn't something that we liked, and consciously we wish not to have that. However, how much choice do we have not to have that? That only depends how aware we are of our communication. Okay, because we take everything with our unconscious mind. Our unconscious mind has got all the stored, processed, judged information and the memories that we have been collecting right from the childhood. So it's kind of like a manual, you know, like when you buy something electronic or any item you buy and there's a manual how to use it. We do have manuals about our relationship. We do have manuals about women. We do have manuals about the men. And then every person that comes to our life and we spend long enough time, we call it calibration, right? You calibrate the person and you know exactly the way they sound, what tonality they use, what kind of gestures they have, the color of their skin, size of their lips, you know, how they move their eyes, where they look when they communicate to you. So entire manual has been automatically downloaded in your head, right? So when you are long enough in a relationship with someone, where they come inside home, how they open the door, you already know what kind of mood they are and approximately like what was their day like. Okay, are they excited? Are they sad? What kind of mood they have, how they are going to now communicate to you. So everything is already preloaded, and we call them triggers. Yeah, in a therapeutic language, we call that that there's a trigger. And even otherwise, we keep saying, you know, he triggers me differently, or she triggers me, or right. So these are the triggers. So what do we actually mean by trigger? Trigger means that there is something in your behavior which is reminding me of something about the past and causes me some kind of a state of mind. Now, that trigger can be something positive, and of course, it can be negative. And what do we mean something is positive or negative is what kind of feelings and emotions it brings up, right? So if you do something that creates pleasantness in me and around me, I will say, you know, I love when you do this behavior. And if something triggers something unpleasant, then I'll say, okay, this is something negative. What we do now in hypnotherapy with regards to relationship, what we do in hypnosis is identify these triggers, first of all. And we call, the term that we use is we collapse those triggers. Now, which triggers do we collapse? We collapse the triggers that create unpleasantness in you, right? And we create and establish the new triggers that creates pleasantness in you. So this is one way how hypnotherapy works. Let me mention here what actually hypnotherapy is, because I don't know how many of you have experienced or have come across to hypnotherapy. Not every name here is familiar to me. So hypnotherapy is a part of psychotherapy where therapy is done under the state of hypnosis. So client is under hypnosis. So we use a lot of hypnosis during the therapy, and we simply do this because communicating to unconscious mind is much more powerful than communicating to conscious mind. So one way right now I'm talking to your conscious mind, and of course your unconscious mind is very much present, and there are a lot of things that you might find very helpful what I'm saying. A lot of things that you already knew, that this is how it works. For example, you all knew probably how communication works. However, it's still tough to actually do it. So knowing that I'm communicating without awareness, and each time, I'm creating the same pattern, and as a response, I'm getting same response from my partner back, doesn't help me to stop or change. So I'm aware now that this is the pattern, but I don't know how to stop. Why you don't know? Because you are not in control sometimes, because the bigger part of you, which is much more powerful than you, and when I say you, I refer to your conscious mind, is who does it. Okay, so there's a part of you who doesn't know how to stop until you tell, and it needs to be told in a state which is called hypnosis. So it's more kind of receptive if you're going to give that suggestion under hypnosis than if you're going to give that suggestion consciously. Therefore, just telling someone, okay, can you stop eating that? Or please don't bite your nails, it doesn't look good, or your nails look ugly, and that doesn't help to stop the behavior. So many times we know we want to stop something and we're not able to. So if we are not able to, then that shows you that unconscious mind is in charge here. And in hypnosis, somehow we want to create the agreement. So here are two parties, and they are not in conflict. I mean, I don't want to call it conflict, sounds like something really, unpleasant. It's not a conflict, but this one wants one thing, and this one only knows how to do another thing. So even if this agrees with this one, that, okay, I also want to have what you want to have, it's not possible for this one to have it because doesn't know how to do it. Okay. And by just telling this is what I want, this is what I want, it's not going to learn. So hypnotherapy is kind of a state where learning for this bigger chunk of you who is so powerful is easier and effortless. Does that make sense? So we use hypnotherapy to bring some unconscious communicating patterns up, to become aware, and then create some form of trigger. Sometimes we collapse the old trigger and create the new one to bring this new, good, pleasant state of mind. Because when you are in a pleasant state of mind, your communication is much more clear. Okay. Now, there are a few things that we need to be aware of, that every time we communicate, we always have good intention. In fact, whatever we do, a lot of bad stuff that we do, we have good intention in mind. So anything that, I mean, we can keep blaming our unconscious as long as we want to, but let's agree on one thing, that our unconscious only has good intentions for us. Okay. So now when my intention is good, let's take an example, probably, I don't know. I mean, and one thing in webinars, I find challenging that I can't hear you guys, what's on your mind and how much of what I'm saying is actually clear. So that's why I please encourage you to share here your thoughts. One aspect of one aspect of your unconscious mind is to save you from something, some unpleasant situation. Therefore, we pick up so many defense mechanisms, right? So I have something in my mind. For example, I need attention. Okay, I miss you and I do need more attention from you. Now, my intention of my next step behavior is that you understand how I feel when I do not have one. I mean, attention, right? And I want you to now give it to me. So there is nothing bad about me crying, for example, or me calling you 10,000 times and disturbing you, or me saying that you are not paying attention to me and you don't love me anymore and you have changed. So any sort of behavior and communication is only from a very good intention. And intention is that please pay attention to me and please feel how I feel when you don't pay attention to me, right? So when we are talking about healing relationships, that's exactly what I mean, that there are two people involved in this, and the other one needs to understand exactly what you are trying to communicate. But now look at what happens on another side. So when I'm telling you do not love me, when I'm telling you you have changed, now I feel completely blamed. I feel unappreciated. I feel whatever I do for you and whatever I want for you from my heart, you are not seeing it. I feel very guilty that I thought I'm making you happy, you loved me and you wanted to be with me, but now I can see that being with me creates so much pain in you, so I feel guilt and I don't know how to communicate. So you can tell me that you can express your anger, but I'm the person who cannot, who needs to take some time and who is a little bit lost in this communication. And I need to be now silent to deal with my painful stuff that you have triggered in me, right? And when I keep quiet and I don't want to look at you and I don't want to probably be in the same space with you, then I get this even more that, see, I told you you don't love me. I told you you don't want to spend time with me. You see, now the both people here in this communication that I just gave you a small little example, their intention is good. But how they are dealing with it is very, very traumatic and painful. And now let's understand, where did we learn this way of communication? Once I already mentioned that we have learned it from our childhood. So what we are actually doing in our adult lives, and here steps hypnotherapy again, is that we are duplicating how we felt with our parents. We are duplicating same behavior here. So we are treating our partners as our parents. So everything that we missed in our childhood, if we missed attention from our parents, and of course we missed means it's our only perception, right? We needed more. Let's say mother was working, father was working, there were no siblings, I was all alone, and I needed someone to pay attention to me. And the way I would get it would be probably I would fall sick, or I would not study well, or I would study really well, or right. So I would find something that would bring attention towards me, right? And now, because I have the constant void that I need more attention, I'm trying to get that attention here. But that's not the role of a partner. And we begin to expect, and I'm again jumping back to honeymoon this time. Now in honeymoon, what happens is that we get everything that we are missing, everything. We get lots of communication, we get a lot of intimacy, we get a lot of good memories, we go out excessively, right? We do everything together, we are always together. So this anchors that, okay, so this is the expectation from our partner. So our partner is going to provide everything that is missing in our life. So there is so much of expectation that as honeymoon goes down, those vibes and hormonal changes, kind of settle down, our expectations they don't go down, and we still hold our partner responsible, just like how we held responsible our parents, right? So in hypnotherapy, what do we do in this case? We go back into our childhood and heal those inner children. Heal those children who felt hurt, who didn't get enough attention, the children who learned to fight for the attention, or children who learned to pretend not to have attention. And attention is something that I don't require, right? And hypnotherapy helps us to go and reconnect with those parts of us. And often we call them inner children. Healing our inner children allows us to be more of an adult. And as an adult, there is more awareness. So who is adult? Adult is a person who has more awareness in this particular moment right now, wherever we are, okay, in the present moment. And if you are in the present moment, more adult you are, less issues you have in your life, not only with regards to relationship, but generally, right? So this is what hypnotherapy does, taking you back and reintegrating and healing those missing parts of you from your childhood, and then creating a new behaviors, new neural pathways, where your new behavior, which you consciously decide, so this is what I want to do, but I'm not able to do. So I want to do is your conscious part, which is sharing. And whenever you say I'm not able to do, you are referring to your unconscious, that this guy doesn't allow me to do. So again, I'm saying hypnotherapy becomes a playground where these two parts of you can kind of come to same intention and work towards the same goal. So this is what I wanted to share with you guys. Now I would like to hear from you if you have any particular challenge in your relationships, or any question, anything you would like to share. Either you can unmute yourself. I think unmuting yourself would be better. And if you can't do that, just let me know. Sometimes
Hi, Irina. Can you hear me?
yes, I can. Who is this? Shilpa?
Yeah, this is Shilpa. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Irina, I have a question regarding this healing process. I understand since our childhood is so long, we learn so many things in whatever, 10, 12, 15 years. Um, how long does this healing process takes? So it's obviously not going to be like in one healing session, you kind of, your subconscious and your conscious starts agreeing on the common goal. So what is the length of that healing process typically?
Okay, Shilpa, I understand. I understand where you are coming from. Now, it's a very difficult to kind of answer this question with, I can't tell you it takes 2 sessions or 1 session or 5 sessions. It absolutely depends on you as well. So see what is involved there. As I said, that usually challenges in relationships is about the communication, right? So, and I said that we communicate without awareness. So number one is to bring the awareness. The moment you bring the awareness, half of the battle is won. For example, if like I had this week, I had one client who repeatedly had dreams of, her husband getting married again. Okay. And sometimes she would, so she would experience different feelings and emotions. And in the morning, she would wake up and laugh about it, right? Because she's in fact sharing an amazing relationship with her husband. So now when I asked her, was there any woman in her family who was married, I mean, whose husband was married twice? Like, was there any two wives involved? She says, my grandfather. But in fact, when my grandmother died, biological grandmother died first, and with that other woman, she treats her like her grandmother, and she's the first one, okay? And mother loves her. Her mother, my client's mother, loves that woman, and my client loves a woman, and my client's children adore this grandma, right? And then I placed her in the shoes of her. So I said, why don't you just go and sit in that chair and just feel? And she keeps telling me that these two women also love each other. And of course they love each other, and I understand. Moment she stepped into her shoes, she started crying. Right. So what I'm trying to say is her awareness came what she was holding into. So she comes with these repetitive dreams that she's seeing, and during the dream, she's not okay. In the morning, she wakes up and she laughs about it. And probably that laughter also was like a defense. What I'm trying to say here is the moment awareness comes, now she's aware that this bothers her. Deep down in her unconscious mind, she does have this fear. She does have this anxiety. Okay? So one part is you having already an awareness that, okay, so now that I'm hurting and I'm angry, you might not be aware that what you lack is attention. You might just keep blame your partner that what he does is abnormal. This is not normal. You know, from Sunday to Thursday, he's gone. He works from morning till night. And Friday, when entire family, my kids and me, expect him to spend some time with me, he just goes and freaking swims for 3 hours. Now, is that normal? It's abnormal. And I might keep saying this abnormal, and judging my partner, where I understand that actually what's happening is that I lack attention. I need attention not only on Friday. In fact, I need his attention every day. I'm hurting without attention. So this is the first thing. Okay, so I need attention. So probably if he's going to give me at least 10 minutes, like the moment he comes home, if he shows to me that, oh my God, I miss being with you, sits with me and just holds my hand just for 5-10 minutes, and then goes and continues whatever else he needs to accomplish at the end of the day, I'm fine. Now that's called awareness. Second part is, how do I communicate it differently versus what I was doing till today, and what is going to remind me of that communication? Because my natural state is the moment he comes home, I'm already, you know, my energy changes because I want to show that I'm, you know, I don't care whether he's home or not, because this is what I've been last 10 years. Today, I realize that I actually need his attention, and all this rudeness or coldness or whatever I'm doing, I'm only doing to somehow let him know, look at me, I need your attention, I need your love. And this is what I've developed. But that didn't bring any good to me. So today I went to a therapist. Number one, I realized that I need attention more than I thought. And number two, I have to communicate in different way. And for that communication now, probably every time my partner comes home, I need to touch my index and thumb together, because this was instilled or installed in my therapy session. Now I have to keep doing this. So what I'm trying to say, Shilpa, here is, it's not only what you do within the session, it's what you do after the session and how much, in awareness you stay. Now, one thing is for sure, that once something comes to your awareness, it can never go back. You cannot become aware of something and then say, oh, but I'm not aware again. That cannot happen. Right?
I think you answered the question, that it's more of daily practice that you need. And
yes, daily practice.
With the example.
After in hypnotherapy, what happens is a neuron pathway is established, new one. So for example, during the therapy, client might say that each time, you know, your partner comes home, or each time you see his message, and you are going to have this fist, and you are going to feel like that, whatever is the feeling that you require to have, let's say peaceful or love or compassion. And now at home, you have to continue using this. Okay. And anytime something else comes up, let's say you forget and something else comes up, there has to be a reminder. So usually I keep telling my clients, okay, paste this everywhere, on the fridge, on the kitchen, on the mirror, you know, like there are some kind of unconscious reminders. So it's not that consciously you are going to remember, that's not even required, but unconsciously it reminds you of taking deep breath, for example. When you take a deep breath, of course, like that emotional burden that you are feeling in that moment is gone. You know, whenever you feel like anxious or angry, or you naturally do this and you release some part, right? So these are the small little tricks that we do for therapy, because it's a journey. It's a journey. For 10 years, you have been doing something. Like, to start doing something unconsciously differently is a challenge.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Anything else? Guys, come on, participate.
Hello.
Hello. Who is this?
E.
Yes.
Hello. Sorry. My English is not my first language, so I hope I can speak properly.
Yes, you do. It's
Thank
not
you.
my first language either.
Yeah, but you speak quite well, and most of what you have said, I agree, and thank you for that. My relationship problem I have is communication in language. Okay, because my mother tongue is Chinese, but my husband can't speak any Chinese. So all these years we have communicated in English. When children were young, and because we are in love, so everything is fine. But now children are older, and I find it gets harder for me to improve my English even better than what how I can speak. And so and of course other things like you have mentioned, or childhood, and even myself, health, and everything. But my point is, I find that it's hard when I have to explain an issue in English to him, and that causes a lot of distress, and it's just difficult for me to express clear, like our mother tongue, and then the discuss always just ends up very unpleasant because I can't speak properly. It gets harder and harder. So with this language barrier, I think it will be like 80% of its language barrier. And of course, on top of that is other things you have mentioned. So I don't know if there's any suggestion or advice or anything you can advise. Thank you.
Yes. See. So, I completely understand what you are saying. And why do I understand you is because I'm married to a guy who belongs to different country, different language, different religion. I couldn't understand a word. I'm married to an Indian guy, right? Being Georgian, and of course, English was my third language. And he knew Russian, and we, amongst ourselves, we would talk in Russian initially. However, it was very difficult to connect to extended family. And you guys know how India is. You don't marry one person, you marry entire community. So I understand what you are saying, absolutely. However, and of course, one way of looking at it is getting better at your English, right? Going to classes and getting your game up, like learning language. That's one way of doing it. But as I mentioned, the verbal communication is only 7%. And especially when you have a partner with whom you can express much more with your body language than with, let's say, just a friend or somebody at your work, you have a lot of scope to communicate. Okay, so communicating is more of your gestures and your body language and mindset of a receiver. So that's very important, assessing the mindset. So when you have to communicate something important, and important means something, let's say if you are stressed or if you not feel well emotionally, and you see your partner comes home and he or she is stressed at something else, whatever it is, probably it's not a good time to communicate. So assessing the situations is also very important, right? So I would suggest to look at your belief that I don't know enough English or good English to communicate myself. Look at this belief as a limiting belief and just question, is that true? Is it true that if I don't know language, I can't communicate? Right? Or is there any other way? Or how helpful it is for me to believe that I don't know English, therefore I can't communicate to my partner? Is there any other belief that if I believed would make my communication easier? Right? So just keep challenging, keep asking yourself these questions, and I'm sure you are going to crack something. Yeah?
Okay.
I just want to ask, this will work only if I do therapy? Will the relationship either break or be better? Okay, this is a very good question. See, when we say relationship, yes, relationship is of two people, right? And either it is good until both want to make it work, it's not going to work. Okay, however, working on yourself will definitely free you from any kind of blame, anger, resentment, sadness. Of course, you are going to be sad in case this doesn't work and you are really keen for it to work. You are going to experience sadness, but that's very normal and natural. And if you experience anything else, would be rather abnormal, right? Yes, relationship, both the parties, like both partners, come together in the first session, then we go into individual sessions, and then after some time, after a few individual sessions, we come together again. So this is how it works. But I always say that if your partner doesn't want to work on a relationship, please you yourself get into it. Yeah, it's only good things are going to happen to you. Thank you, Shilpa. Any other question?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you for your time. I did not attend from the beginning. I've just joined now.
Is this Sarah? I don't know who is talking. Sarah?
Yes.
Yes, Sarah. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure how it works, but I wanted to know if there is a partner in the relationship that's abusive, physically and emotionally abusive, because of trust issues that actually do not exist. It's just imaginary ones from childhood or past trauma.
Yeah.
Is that something that, is that something that you normally see getting resolved? Or is it a more, individual case for the person? Is it like a couples therapy that's required, or is it an individual for the person
Sarah,
with the issue?
Thank you so much for bringing this up. See, abuse in a relationship cannot be it cannot be treated as a one-person issue, because the one who has been abused is so hurt and so helpless that that person needs help also. Now, to call it a couples therapy, I might not call it a couples therapy until unless they call it that we are couple here and we need a therapy. But irrespective whether you work on this relationship or not, somebody who has been abused will need professional help. Okay. Now, have I seen these things being resolved? Yes and no. Sometimes it gets resolved and sometimes it doesn't. It only depends. I mean, resolved also depends what you are asking. If you are asking the abusive partner can stop abuse, yes, he or she can. And sometimes they can't stop. So depends. Now you are looking at it from a perspective of, childhood trauma. Yes, there are abuser always will have the trauma. Nobody coming from a functional family can become abuser, right? Let's agree on this. All of this has origin somewhere, and they've been abused. However, can it always be resolved? Sometimes not. If we are dealing with, for example, personality disorders, okay, it can't be resolved. So they might still continue. If we are talking about someone who is addicted to alcohol or some substance, and while under the influence, this person abuses, might not be resolved until unless he or she agrees to stop the substance and go for the addiction therapy. So there are a lot of things involved over here. So it can be resolved and sometimes it is not resolved.
Okay, thank you so much. What do you advise then in this case?
I would advise the abused party, because sometimes abuser does not even, so special when we're talking about personality disorders, they don't see it as a issue. Okay,
Yeah,
they don't take ownership that I'm doing something wrong. And
Correct.
they would rather say, you know what, if you won't behave like this, and I told you a billion times, don't do this, I won't abuse, right? So in
Correct.
such cases, I mean, if he or she doesn't agree to come for the therapy, the abused party needs to get rid of. And that's probably only the case when therapists will give you advice, because we don't give advices. But this is the only time, whenever there is any form of abuse involved, therapists will tell you to get rid of relationship. Yeah, take help.
Yeah. So
Different countries will have different legal implications, calling whatever hotlines or whatever, I mean, helplines, getting help.
Okay. And the type of therapy you provide, it is hypnotherapy. So you change the neural pathways during the hypnotherapy?
For the abuser?
Both.
Depends. Hypnotherapy, I told you, every therapy has got its limitations, right? There is a extent to what you can do. So if we are dealing, let's say, with a person, let's say bipolar, it's a mood disorder. Now, will only hypnotherapy work? No. Right?
You
so
combine,
we combine not only different therapies, but we do combine sometimes therapy and medication. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary. And of course, we cannot give medication, but we will tell you that you need to see a psychiatrist. Okay? So sometimes because whatever we do in a therapy, we work on your mind. And if there is a imbalance in your brain, then we need the medical help as well. And then together we can work towards tapering medication out slowly.
Okay.
But please do not treat any form of therapy like a magic. Oh my God, so I'm going to Illuminations, I'm going to do 5 sessions, I'm going to be, right? There is a limitation. We don't know what you are talking about. There could be that I'm abuser because I've been abused and I don't know how to manage my anger, and it just comes up, and my partner triggers me in some way, and the moment I heal that part of me, suddenly this behavior just changes, just goes away. Possible, but please understand that there are some other conditions and situations where just by doing 1 session of hypnosis, it doesn't stop.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Any other question?
Sorry, yes, I have one more. So so your sessions, they are one-on-one live, or is it over Zoom now because of Corona? And do you have?
No, we do work. We do. I mean, we have sessions at the center. If you are in Dubai, you would like to come, you can come to the center, or you can work on Zoom as well. It's completely your choice.
Okay, and do you feel it's the same effect on Zoom or on live?
I would say for some sessions it's same, and for other sessions I prefer one-on-one. Depends. Depends what is the session, but most of the session work on Zoom.
Okay, perfect. And if it is going to be combined therapies, is it with the same therapist or does it be with different therapists?
No, I mean what I do. So I utilize different therapeutic modalities that I use. So whatever I choose in particular situation, for example, most of the times I use family constellation also in relationships. So one session would be family constellation, another session could be a hypnosis. So it's combined in that sense.
Okay. And what are the charges and like packages available? And
charges and packages, you need to speak to the management. You need to call or email Illuminations, and they'll tell you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. I'm still waiting for anything to share, any questions. I guess
one more question if no one else has any.
Yes.
For ADHD, no, sorry, dyslexia, is that a condition? If someone has got dyslexia, are there sometimes situations where they can imagine that a specific situation has happened, or hear something that they may have dreamt or watched in a movie or something like that, and then actually think it is real because of dyslexia? Is it linked to dyslexia to have these kind of imaginations kind of?
No, not at all. Absolutely not. Now, dyslexia is a condition. It's a learning disability with regards to reading and writing, right? Now, there are lots of issues that might arise because of dyslexia, emotional issues I'm talking about, because when you are challenged, number one, as a child, you do not understand you are challenged. Okay. You do not realize what's happening with you. And number three, you do not know how to communicate. So there is a great amount of confusion.
Yeah.
Now, before, I mean, of course, we are becoming better at this, but before it's even detected and kind of diagnosed, your parents are confused. They do not understand what's happening with you, right? So it can be, you might be blamed as you don't want to focus and concentrate, you are lazy, you are this, you are that. Now we are much better in 21st century, right? We are becoming better, and there are some parts of the world which is not better yet. So emotional stuff that the child is collecting by being dyslexic is huge. Number two, it's not only parents and teachers, but there are other children as well. The child is comparing with others, and I'm different always feels not so good, especially when I'm different in a challenged manner, right? What they can do, I'm not able to do.
Yeah.
So these feelings and emotions can bring up a lot of toxicity in every relationship with friends and with partners as well. Now, of course, there are very good techniques to kind of master, let's say, spelling faster unconsciously, and hypnotherapy can be used for that. But healing all these emotional issues are very, very important. Now, the situation that you are asking me, that I've seen something in my childhood, let's say watched some Netflix series, or I've read a movie, or I've heard two adults talking about, right, while I was playing with my Lego, two adults were discussing something, and I was hearing, and I was constructing images by that content. Can affect my life. Yes, it can. Therefore, it's extremely important to know what are you watching. Let's say on internet, on TV. It's extremely important that every time you watch, you count yourself up. Like you watch some film, right? And you are sleepy. Do not go to sleep immediately. Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eyes open, wide awake. Then switch it off, go to sleep. So as much as that you need to kind of reestablish and give the trigger that this is not real, because your unconscious doesn't understand something, what is real and what is not real. Unconscious cannot differentiate. And if you are watching something for more than a minute, you are already hypnotized. So under hypnosis, whatever you take in, for your unconscious, it's real. Whether you are watching a war movie or whether you are participating in a war, for your unconscious, there is no difference.
Mm.
And dyslexia has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
It's true for all of us.
Mm. No, sometimes sometimes there are like stories I've heard, for example, when I was younger, and I think it was something that happened to me. And then when I grew up older, I found out actually that's something that happened to my sister. And all these years, I thought it was me it happened to.
Yes. So now see what's happening? Because you believed this has happened to me, those experiences have created, they've affected your life, affected your other belief systems and your behavior as well.
Mm.
You see, so for example, let's say your sister was lost in a mall. Okay, your parents took her and she was lost. However, you believe that this happened to you.
Yeah.
Therefore, it didn't happen, but it didn't happen. It happened to your sister. Because you believe that it happened to you, you might be anxious when you are going out with your children and extra careful and focused and panicking and, you know, or your behavior could be that you won't go, or every time you are going, you are holding the hand with your friend, or, you know, like a lot of small little behaviors can be direct result to what you believed, something that wasn't even true.
Okay, and this is not linked to dyslexia?
No, not at all.
No. So it's a normal thing, or is it like a disorder?
No, it's not a disorder. See, anything is a disorder that bothers you. If you don't have money and you want money, that's also a disorder. Right? So, for example, phobias, like we are scared of, let's say, heights, or we are scared of light. But has our aircraft crashed ever? Clearly no. Therefore, we are talking here right now. Have you ever fallen from a mountain or a top of the, you know, building? No, but you are scared. So these fears, it might not be directly experienced, but we do have behaviors which are not directly linked to our own experiences. And these are, you know, experiences from others. Experiences, what we have seen, what we have read. So similarly, if somebody told you the story, forget about your sister, even if you don't believe that this has happened to you, but you have heard some kind of a story which never occurred to you before. Right now, that story is going to play up on you. So, for example, after 50 years or 100 years, when our great-great-grandchildren are going to be born, and they won't have a first experience with pandemic, and they will read in the history that in 2020, this has happened, and entire world was under the lockdown, and these are the new businesses that developed, and, you know, people started working on the Zoom, and all of this for them is going to be our experience. They've never experienced, but they will have so much of behavioral changes because of this. Like it never occurred to us, right? Until we experienced it. But for them, when they are going to read that history, they will already have behaviors around it, around this belief.
Mm. And in being bipolar, does it have anything to do with hearing things that have not been said? Like, for example, we're having a conversation, and then all of a sudden, you imagine that I said someone else's name to you. Is
No.
that some? No.
No, that's not part of bipolar. Bipolar is the mood disorder. What you are saying is a, you know, I mean, part of hallucination. Now, hallucination can be the visual, or it can be what you are hearing. It's very often part of schizophrenia rather than bipolar.
Mm.
Bipolar is a mood disorder, not
So
being able to manage the moods and swinging into different moods.
okay, so schizophrenia, normally you can hear stuff that was not said.
Yes, you can hear, you can see, you can assume, you can completely believe that this group of people want to harm you or is against you. You know, it's like believing in your own created reality.
Mm.
And not being convinced that it's not real, not being able to differentiate what is real and what is real only for you.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Do we have any other questions, or should we close the session? I'll wait for one more minute. Thank you, Shilpa. All right, then. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'll see you soon for another webinar. Bye.